Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. So today's video is probably going to be a long one, and that reason is because I was sent a link to a podcast called FASD SUCCESS SHOW by Jeff Noble, and it was sent by a great subscriber of mine, Love MJ2. So thank you so much. A big shout out to her. And the guest on this podcast was none other than Josh and Alicia Doherty, talking about all 6 of their adopted children having fetal alcohol syndrome disorder. Now, the podcast host, Jeff, I guess, read the People magazine that Alicia and Josh were in, that also talked about the adoption children having FASD. It had all their names in it. And if you haven't read the People magazine, interview that the Dohertys did, don't worry, because I have it posted at the end of this video. So here's a little background on his show. He became a foster parent to a child with FASD, and now he's an advocate, and he travels the world talking to caregivers, frontline staff, so people can learn how to deal and cope with FASD in real life. So he is an advocate for FASD. So this is the Doherty Dozens episode. It's number 036. The Doherty Dozen doesn't quit. And I believe this was from 2020. So he wanted to sit down. He invited Josh and Alicia onto his podcast to talk about how they deal with the 6 children they adopted from foster care. Okay, so again, feel free to pause if you want to read this all. It's just kind of a background on Josh and Alicia and how he got in contact with them. The Dohertys say that they're a parent of 10, 6 adopted with FASD. Their first adopted son started with extreme physical violence, and I guess he was violent towards Alicia when she was pregnant with her first bio child. He goes on to say they talk about those early years, how they went from 2 to 12, as well as dealing with what they call grocery store looks and judgment from family and friends, how the People magazine article happened, their thoughts on its tone and the public response. Of course, it's People magazine's fault, right? Because they didn't put in every single word that Alicia and Josh said to them. Where they see their future for advocacy and their family. I'd love to hear the response about this. We get told all the time by friends and family. Okay, so that's a statement by Alicia. Like I said, feel free to pause and read this, because we're going to get into the podcast. So everything they're saying here, I mean, we're gonna listen to it. So I guess there's no point of reading it all. So here we go. I'm going to start playing the podcast.
Did you ever hear about FASD? So they have backgrounds in special education, 12 kids doing their best, and it's amazing to hear where they started to where they are now. I am with the parents in the actual article for People magazine with Alicia and Josh Doherty. Guys, thank you so much for doing this.
Hi, thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Well, but I love an origin story. When did you guys first hear about FASD? Like, when was that brought to you guys?
Our oldest adopted child, who's now 14, when he moved in when he was 4, we were dealing with extreme behaviors and we did not know what was happening. So we took him to a specialist. And at that point, we learned that he had fetal alcohol spectrum disorder.
Okay, I'm going to be honest. Before listening to this podcast, I didn't know that Alex has FASD.
And from there, everything just spiraled. We learned everything there was to learn about it. We took in more kids with FASD.
Right. It didn't happen like one after the other. We got diagnosed. We'll read a book. Bring them on.
No.
So, right. So here's the deal. So your son is presenting all these challenging things. What kind of things did you see that you were like, something is different?
It was probably The violent behaviors were probably the first things that stuck out.
I can't believe they're actually talking about this, guys. It's so sad. I feel so bad for these kids. This information is so personal.
And, you know, within the first 6 months, there was some pretty crazy things, you know, massive temper tantrums where many, you know, toys or things around the house would be broken. Just his in an extreme fit, like, you know, like I said in the article, he ripped up his carpet and threw it down the steps. Now for a tiny 4-year-old to do that, you're like, wow, something's going on there. And then, you know, even really super aggressive things like going after my wife when she was pregnant.
This is the first time I'm ever hearing this story with Alex. I hope they are not making this up, but even if it is true, they have no business telling this story.
With the first bio baby, you know, he went after her stomach. So there was some really, really extreme things that we had to deal with.
Thanks for sharing that, because you got to be pretty open to share that kind of stuff.
I think the podcast host is actually surprised that they shared that story.
What are you guys going through, like, mentally? What are you thinking is happening?
Oh God, and jump in any time, but
yeah,
it really, like, because we had wanted kids for so long, probably almost maybe like 10 years, something
right.
Close to that, whatever, for however long we were together. And we got this child and we're like, yeah, we're perfect parents. And then, you know, it really, really put a strain on our marriage. And I think, like, we're like, and I'm like, we have to stick with this. And she's like, I'm not sure if I can. I'm not sure if I can. We have to stick with this. And it was a really rough go. It really put a strain on our relationship, and it made us question a lot of things.
That was a pretty selfish answer that Josh gave.
I hear you.
When he sent me to the hospital when I was pregnant, I was monitored for 24-hour placental abruption. And at that point, my OB came in the room at the hospital and said, I don't know if I can send this baby home to that home.
Wow, so she's been putting her children in danger before they were even born. Interesting.
Knowing that this is the level of violence that he is doing. And after that, we were like, something needs to change.
Mm-hmm.
That was our turning point.
In change in terms of, but you didn't think, you know, we got to get rid of this kid. He's got to go to a group home and not a placement. That was never discussed. It was
it was discussed. There's no doubt about it.
Not in terms of giving up the adoption, but in terms of putting him in
home placement. Like, we can't manage this, so he needs alternate care.
We explored that option.
Yeah.
Not even just with him.
Yeah.
I think with all the kids
Wow, so Josh and Alicia just admitted that they felt with every single one of their adopted children that they might be better off with outside care to help with their FASD. Very interesting.
Been to the point with all of the kids.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that, because I think that's real life. Everybody thinks about that. I've been right now, folks. I
remember when he moved in, I remember saying to one of my friends, I thought he was supposed to be happy when my child woke up for the day. And she didn't understand what I was saying, but I would get this feeling of like, okay, here we go again. An entire day of managing these behaviors.
An entire day of walking on eggshells.
Well, it couldn't have been that bad, Alicia, because you turned around and adopted 5 more with FASD, according to you.
An entire day of arguing and trying to talk logic and sense into somebody, and knowing that they're going to get violent and yes, absolutely. Yeah. So the turning point was, this isn't good enough. This has to change. And so you sought out a diagnosis. Is that about the timeline? When you learned about FASD, if you could bring me there, because I talk often about aha moments.
Mm-hmm. We have a wonderful local support group, FASD support group here in Rochester, New York.
Have you guys ever heard her talk about an FASD support group in Rochester where they live? I haven't.
And in April 2019, one of the doctors posted in the Facebook group, would anyone be interested in being interviewed by a journalist for an article on parenting children with FASD? Nobody else was interested because they didn't want their story public.
In other words, Alicia, nobody wanted to expose their kids like that. Are you kidding me?
So at that point, Josh and I said, sure, we'll talk to someone. That's fine.
Josh and I were like, we'll expose our kids for the world. That's fine.
We've gotten our story out there a few times by now.
We've been exploiting our kids for years on TikTok by this point, so this was right up our alley.
Connected with the journalist. She said, okay, I'll come this day. We thought it was like a little tiny 10-minute interview for a local little publication.
Mm-hmm.
She walked in and we said, so who do you write for? And she said, People Magazine. What? Okay, People Magazine. And we're like, okay, I guess our story's public at this point.
They totally jumped at this opportunity. This was finally their way to go viral.
Mm-hmm.
And we've always been public. We are always honest with the kids. So, we said to the kids, is this okay with you if this story goes that big?
For one, they didn't ask the kids for permission. And even if they did, they're not old enough to consent. She was going to do it whether the kids wanted to or not. And notice how she mentions if this goes big, like she knew what this was going to do for her family.
Got public, and they said if it helps,
nice.
We went forward with it.
Really, Alicia, that was what your kids were thinking? If this helps other kids like me, I highly doubt that.
So we talked about therapy, diet, medication, careful parenting, and then I like what you said next. You said an appreciation and understanding of their limitations. So you use the word appreciation and understanding.
Understanding their limits. What? How long they can record on her TikTok per day?
How did that journey go from finding that, because of the organic brain issues that they have, there are certain things that make it harder. What are some of the things that you guys do, when figuring out what the limitations are?
Well, it's, it goes to, I might get a little theoretical, but.
Josh is stuttering there. Hard question, bud. Come on, spit it out.
When you're looking at Piaget's stages of development and you're looking to see where a child is standing. So you really have to take the time to analyze the child and kind of think about, okay, what are they doing right now? What behaviors am I seeing? What types of activities are they into? And all of that is a breadcrumb trail in terms of where they're actually functioning age-wise. So, we found, from our first experiment, not really thinking about, not being as theoretical kind of, because you're.
Did he just say their first adopted child was their first experiment?
You're in the muck of things.
Mm-hmm.
But seeing like, okay, this kid may be a big 5-year-old, but really, he's doing a lot of things like a 2-year-old would do, or like a 3-year-old would do.
Okay, so if he was acting like a 2-year-old when he was 5, how old is he acting at this current age? Because you guys bought him a vehicle.
And so you have to say to each other, all right, well, you have to rationalize. You have to know, okay, how is this kid acting? And I have to talk to them like they have a 3-year-old brain, or like, now our massive 13-year-old, what he's doing. Okay, well, he's acting like a 5-year-old, and we have to.
So is Josh talking about what he does at work or at home? Because I've never even seen him interact with the children. I only see him yell at them or ignore them. I feel like they're really dumbing their kids down right now, the adopted kids.
To make sure that we're using language and careful planning and what we're saying, just to make sure that he's processing and understanding that information. You can't go over their heads, because otherwise, you're going to see an increase in behavior.
Right. When you give an individual on the spectrum more than they can process, that's when you'll see the behaviors. And you talked about a primary characteristic of the disability, which is dysmaturity, right? They can be developmentally younger in different areas than their chronological age, but people get caught up on they look normal, talk normal, and so we take people at face value, not brain value. So we people assume that they're more capable, right? Independently, which is often very tough for them.
As I call it, the grocery store looks. You get the grocery store looks like, that kid's normal. What's wrong with those parents?
Yeah. Josh, you don't do the grocery shopping, and Alicia doesn't bring the kids with her to grocery shop. What are you guys talking about? And some of the stuff Alicia makes them do on her TikToks, it would make a lot of people think that they're over-exaggerating this podcast.
Yeah.
Right? Just like autism. It fits hand in hand with autism. Like, what's wrong with them? They look normal.
This is all great, by the way, Josh. How do you handle those? How do you not rage on the inside? Did you at first? What is your internal dialogue when people are looking now?
Josh stays away from it, so he doesn't deal with it.
We're to a point now, we don't care what anyone thinks, and I almost laugh.
She is so full of crap. She cares way too much what people think.
And I know I'm doing what's best for these kids. So you can do what you want to do, and I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing.
Basically, what they're saying is they're going to keep exploiting their kids no matter what anyone says.
So if we're like, no, you can't have that 10th cookie, you'll throw up. They're like, oh, here's the 10th cookie. And
unless that 10th cookie is on the snackerty board, right?
We have to be like, no, like we cannot hang out with you if you're going to enable the children when it's not healthy for them.
For one, nobody wants to hang out with you guys because you guys are pathological liars and child exploiters, but you guys are the ones who enable these kids the most.
They do not have that inside voice that says, I've had enough. We are that voice.
Alicia, I think your TikTok page and your YouTube page speaks for themselves on that.
So people don't get that. But you guys
people think we're freaking people think we're freaking nuts.
Yeah.
They don't like even.
Oh, people think you guys are nuts, but it's not because you're restricting your adopted children of the 10th cookie.
Our 5-year-old twins with FASD. One night, we lock everything now, because he'll sneak out anything to eat or drink. We had everything locked up. He turned to mineral oil.
So I guess you used to lock stuff up, but not now.
And we always have a fruit bowl out. We don't ever want to deprive them of food. But my theory is, if you're truly hungry enough, you'll eat that apple. And oftentimes they won't.
Well, you also didn't mention all the other junk food that you buy. So why would they want any of the fruit? Stop buying it and wasting it.
So like every individual on the spectrum is 100% different with different needs. How do you manage all of those needs?
I think it's just so structured, so routine, so consistent.
That's her answer for everything. I don't know why she's just not honest and says, I don't know, I'm too busy with social media to even deal with them.
Huh. No, that is good. Now,
even the podcast host knows it's bullshit what she's saying.
We're going to keep moving forward. So you can say what you want to say, but give us a chance to talk with you, because we'll talk to each and every person that wants to talk with us, and we'll tell us.
Boy, has things changed, because they won't address anything right now, right?
Mm-hmm. No, that's fair, man.
We gave the journalists probably 1 million words that they had to pick through and come up with a couple hundred to put in the article. So they picked what they picked. And when I see those comments like, oh, they're just they didn't get the hard kids or whatever. I'm like, do you know how many hours of my life I've spent wiping feces off of walls, or how many hours Josh has spent fixing holes in the wall? I mean, we could go on with specific examples. Those just didn't make the article, but that's our daily life too. They
didn't put that in the article because that's too personal. So then you guys take it upon yourself to turn to your social media and exploit all those personal details. What don't you understand about that?
Somewhere along the way, just chose to focus on the positive and to have a sense of humor, to get through the trenches.
I'm going to call BS because in the early days of your TikTok, you were exploiting all your children's information. So now everyone that knows your family knows your kids' traumas, their medical conditions, and that never should have happened. So I'm not sure how you can say that that's positive and uplifting because it's not.
My final question. Where do you see this going? You said you want to tell people use this platform. Like, where do you see yourselves doing this in terms of shedding a light on FASD, and where do you see the future of your family? So that's two heavy questions. Go. Like, what do you want to do in terms of advocacy? Like, what do you see?
Yeah.
Talk to us.
We've been big advocates locally in Rochester, New York area. We would like to take that to the larger scale. We'd love to be the face, of adoption from foster care, adoption of children with special needs and FASD, and kids with big behaviors.
So this may have been what she wanted to do, 3 years ago. But once that money started rolling in, everything that she had set out and even told this podcast and the magazines, she never held up to that. She is not the face of FASD. She is not promoting and supporting kids being adopted. She says she is, but she's not. She's too wrapped up in making content every day, 2-3 videos every day, just racking in that money. That's all she's concerned about.
Yeah, I think reach more people.
Right. Oh, that's a nice way to put it.
She hasn't reached anything except probably making $1 million a year from exploiting these children, of course.
This was awesome. Like, I just love a good, honest, raw conversation, and so does my audience.
I understand raw, honest conversations, right? But when it comes to kids and their medical conditions and their traumas, and super personal stories like that involve feces and stuff, I don't think that needs to be on podcasts, especially because everyone knows this family. So a lot of this stuff can't be unsaid. But that was the gist of that podcast. If you want to obviously watch the whole thing, it's on, I believe, Apple Podcast. And then I also put up the People magazine article if you wanted to read that. But that's about it for today. Thank you guys so much for sticking around until the next video. Oh, please let me know what you guys think about the video today. Until next time, bye.